So the Q&A that we're doing here, this is the format that we take inside of our Creators Club Magic Minds. So every 2 weeks, we do a community Magic Mind where everybody comes on screen like this, everybody has questions, and we give time in the hot seat to do coaching. So we're going to spend whatever time is needed on each of the questions you all pre-submitted. And if we have time at the end for more questions, we'll take them. But we have a long list of awesome questions to get through. And my guess is that the majority of the answers to the questions we're going to be answering are going to be relevant to all of you. So that's the beauty of this, is we're all building online businesses. We're all in the same, essentially, line of work, even though we're doing different things. So everything we're going to be talking about is going to be relevant to the world you're creating on the internet. So let us begin. Claudia, do you want to start with the first question? Oh, I should introduce ourselves. I'm Bradley. So I'm the founder of Magic Media and Magic Kids. I've been doing this a long time. These types of Magic Minds, I've been leading these circles for 7 years, every 2 weeks. I don't think I've had a break from doing that aside from at Christmas time. So I've been doing this a long time and supported hundreds of creators like all of you to do your thing on the internet with more ease and clarity. And I'm going to pass the torch over to Neil.
Hey, everybody. Good to see you all here today. I'm Neil Santos. I've owned a couple businesses, a guitar studio, website design businesses, do multimedia developing for a higher education school. And also I've created e-commerce sites, membership sites, and I'm a graphic designer as well. So I do a little bit of everything. And yeah, I'm excited to be here with you guys today and see if I can help out in any way. I'll pass the torch over to Claudia. I hope that worked with the.
Hey, hi guys, nice to see you all. I'm so excited. There's some really good questions that we are going to answer and dig into. So my name is Claudia Miro. My business is The Inspired Brand. And for 14-ish years, I've been mostly a brand strategist, web designer, developer, and marketing communications consultant for nonprofits, coaches, authors, content creators, retreat leaders, etc. So I've kind of been in the trenches with my clients over the past 14 years, figuring out this world of the web and online marketing, and really helping people tell their story through not only their messaging, but their visuals, and really communicating and creating hubs for all the things they want to create in the world and communities they want to gather. So it's been a deep dive, this 5-week journey with everybody. I've actually been clarifying my own vision for what I'm creating, and here with Creators Club, it's just so exciting to be able to coach and teach and connect with other amazing, inspired creators. So really excited to join everybody and dig in. So, oh, is it my turn? Bradley, you want me to go first? Okay, well, here we are going. Oh, by the way, yes, we're kicking off Creators Club. May 2nd is when the doors open. So we're taking applications. We've received some awesome applicants so far. We're growing this inspired community of people who really want to do business and life in an inspired, creative way, and really are creating content that makes an impact. So we're supporting you with coaching, resources, community, templates, really being with you in the trenches, helping you, guide you through all the different steps that it takes. So the Creators Club is a really conscious community of really amazing people, and really excited to see kind of what is shaping up with that. So if you are interested, submit your application at magicmedia.com. I think Bradley put the link in there. So join us, just submit your application. We can at least start the conversation. We'll be taking enrollment, like I said, through April 22nd, but hopefully opening it back up every few months or so. So stay connected with us regardless. And okay, that's enough of the pitch. Let's dig in. All right, you guys. So the first question is from Joshua. And hi, Joshua. Nice to meet you. I have not met you yet, I think, but very lovely to see your website and all that you're up to. So Joshua, you had asked that basically your consultancy, Story Weaving Media, is I'll read what you submitted. Does that work? Okay. So through my consultancy, Story Weaving Media, I offer a service which is quite unique. In order to help people tell highly impactful, life-changing stories, I take them through a 4-step process I call the story weaving strategy. Within this process, the storyteller to be gets a deeply insightful reality check. We use a therapeutic method I have created to resolve their internal stories. This helps us to identify what I call the emotional pillars, which were holding the internal stories intact. So I'm just going to cut to the question, because I'm doing work that most people are highly unfamiliar with and often intimidated by. What is the best way to introduce this type of work to someone for the first time? And I think that was the first question that really resonated for me. When I read what you were asking, it felt like you've been in this deep process of creation, of like birthing this thing into the world. And so when we're in that process, it's really easy to get stuck in the how and the process of it, right? And so I think now you're shifting gears into, okay, how does this thing connect to other people? How does this resonate, and why would somebody else care? You know, and I think that's really the fundamental piece. And we talked about this a little bit last week, where really anchoring in, like, who is that person that is really going to benefit from what you're creating? You know, creating an avatar. You know, is this person just starting a business? Are they reinventing a business? You know, really anchoring that in. And really, I think when I saw your website, I think it's still in process maybe, but it's beautiful. It's very striking and it's captivating. What I would say is really, I would want some messaging to stand out a little bit more. So it's taking, because you really get into the details of what is involved in each and every module. And instead I would call it out, like, what is the impact that you're going to make? You know, what is the main thing that you help people in each of those steps? And then if they want to dig in, great. They can click a little read more. But I think the big thing that needs to leap off the page is like, what's in it for me? You know, that you will help transform them from unclear to clear, that you will help them create compelling stories for their audience to connect to, et cetera, you know? So, and you can help, and I would literally do that for each page. Like, there's the main message on each page that I would want to like create before you even start designing the page. Figure out what is the one thing you want people to really get from each of the pages. Okay, that's enough of my initial rant. Bradley, Neil, anybody have anything to?
Yeah, I appreciate what you said about just like really understanding the avatar. I think it's something that I think almost anybody and everybody in the first 5 years of doing their thing needs to constantly come back to, because as we evolve, as our work evolves, as we create more, the people that we're serving become clearer and more aligned. It becomes more obvious of like, oh, like this is the tribe of people that I'm supposed to be working with. I would say at this stage, like when I go to your website, I love the sacred geometry. It's super cool. It is striking. What I would love to see is an introductory process. Like, help me get a result in a quick period of time. And I mean, you know, this is like very standard, create a free opt-in sort of thing. Whether it's like a quiz or a survey, or it's like a video series, an audio series, journaling process, like help me get my first result. And I think if you can facilitate an experience that helps somebody come to your website, sign up for a thing, and in like 20 minutes they've had an epiphany, they realize that they're actually on a journey, and you can help lead them forward. Like when I look at the website, just at first glance, I didn't spend a lot of time on it. I find that that's one of the things that's missing is like, help me move forward. So even an ebook, ebooks are great. They're informative. They help people to do it. But I mean, I can't remember the last time I saw the stats, but for people that opt in for an ebook and actually read the whole ebook, the stats are even lower than the online education completion rate, which is like, 3% completion rate. So what can you do with the content you created for the ebook? Could you create an audio series with some of like the fundamental pieces of that ebook? Or could you create a workbook that that you can like derive from the content in the ebook? Could you create a workbook that's like half a page of information and 3 exercises that they do? Or like, here's a 5-minute audio and here's a 3 exercise worksheet that you're going to do to get your first result. Like, it doesn't have to be complicated, does not have to be fancy. You know, go with the branding that you already have, but create a process or something that's going to get me started on the journey with you, so that you do less explaining of what you do and you just get me a result quicker, so that I'm ready for the next step and you don't have to sell me on the next step. So that would be my thoughts first glance.
Thank you so much.
Oh, sorry, I had another idea that where Bradley is saying that's the beginning of their journey with you. I have the same exact feeling where you offer that sort of quick win, but then that's just the beginning of the relationship. You can follow that up with emails and things like that, because it seems like a lot of your question is they don't understand it. They don't, know this sort of thing exists. So maybe you can slowly over time educate them, and not just selling them all the time. Just check in 3 times a week and tell them how this is manifesting itself in your life every day. Just say, oh, know what happened to me yesterday? This happened. And that's kind of how my process comes in, and blah, blah, blah. And by the way, I have this service that you can also have, and it keeps you top of mind, and it starts getting them into your world, so.
Do you have an email list yet, Joshua?
Yeah, like probably 500 or so. It's not huge, but it's something.
That's big. That's 500 humans that want to hear from you.
Mhm.
I mean, we did a 35,000 launch for one of our partners last year. She had 130 people on her email list.
Mhm.
So there's a lot you can do when you have 500 engaged people reading your emails. And for her open rate was over 60%. So if you're providing a lot of value to that email list, that can go a long way. There's a lot you can do. And, if you're creating a business model that doesn't require you to have 10,000 people on your email list, that, could you design a business model that only requires a handful of highly engaged people that you can work with in a long-term basis? If you do that, you can earn the income you need while you're really doing this deep work with people, and while you're refining it to create it to be a more scalable model. The one-to-one and one-to-few relationships that you have when you're early stage starting out, those are absolutely invaluable. And so many creators try to scale before they've actually worked with enough individuals to really define the body of work and the people that they're here to create with. So I would say, I think a suggestion that Claudia, Neil, and I would all agree on is find ways that you can stay in people's front of mind. That 500, treat your 500 people on your email list like gold. As Neil said, take some time in the next week or two to create a series of emails and experiences that really spark engagement in that audience, so that they can get to know you better and you can get to know them better. They are like, that's your gold right there, is those people that are already on your email list.
Could I bring one more thing? Is the concern about the technical lingo. I'm kind of wondering about if it's my job to more educate them on the meanings of the lingo, or to use more commonly used words so that the lingo is not as necessary or relevant.
I think, again, people don't really care what it's called. They don't care. I hate to say the words, they don't care, but it's true. What I've kept reminding myself is we care so much about what we call our thing and what we make it sound very sexy and whatever, but it's about what is the impact for them. So I would really focus on that piece more than anything, because I think, you know what you're doing. And you have to have that confidence when you put a website out. One of the websites I'm working on right now, we're following this concept of essentialism. We're nothing more than what is exactly necessary and essential goes on that page, because that's the energy that she wants to convey, is I know what I'm doing. And when people come to you, they're coming because they've heard from you, or they've gotten compelled in some way, or they've been referred to you, so there's this attraction already. So you just need to give them the confidence that you do know what you're doing. You don't need to prove it to them. And so, and yes, you can educate through your blog content, through your video content, and then that's where you kind of like do the deeper dive. But in that initial website introduction, it should really be like addressing that person that's coming. What is their pain point? And that was the thing I was going to remember to mention is really make a list of, look at your email list right now and just look at the people that are on it. What are their businesses? What are they struggling with? What are, and really create that list of avatars, but mostly like, what are the challenges that those people are going to face day to day in their business, that you can solve, and how do you connect it more to like the work that you do? And so, I've been doing that right now. All of a sudden, I've started emailing my list more because I have something exciting to share, but I've been really talking about my own process as I've been distilling my own mission, my own message. Why? Because I want to be authentic in my branding. I want to talk to people. I don't want to market to people. And all of my clients are struggling to do the same thing. So that's what I would say.
The best form of marketing is having conversations. It's that simple. If you're just having conversations, people are either going to resonate, they're either going to be engaged and enrolled to come on a journey and have more conversations with you. And at a certain point, it'll make sense if there's a monetary exchange because you have a product or a program or a course or a workshop series or whatever it might be. But if you're having conversations, then you're doing marketing. That is it.
Yeah. I'll just add that I'm kind of like transitioning from working more in like a one-on-one therapeutic capacity with like people who tend to look for exactly what I have, and I'm kind of migrating toward people who are more like business oriented and are not necessarily looking for this and don't know it exists. And so my audience is changing, and I am getting the sense that the level of education necessary is also changing. I really like the quick win idea, because this gives me the chance to connect with them or allow them to have a connection right away, so that they can either say, yes, I want more of this, or, this isn't relevant for me.
Yeah. I mean, I see on your website, or I saw you posted like one of your goals is working with somebody like Marvel.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing your messaging exercises, when you're working on that, how do you make your work relevant to a company like that? How do you weave in myth and the hero's journey into your messaging so that people are blown away by the way you're telling a story on your website? And all that's going to take is practice. You're not going to go rewrite your website today. What you're going to do is go write 20 emails that go out in the next, say, 3 months. And that's how you're going to refine your website. Every time you write one of those emails and you provide value to those 500 people on your email list, you're going to be like, oh, I wrote the paragraph over here. That's gold. I'm taking that and put it on my website. And so I would say, like, for you, it's the relationship part of your work that you now need to really focus on. It's like you have your process, but people don't want to buy your process. What they want to buy is where the process leads, the other side of that.
Yeah.
And that's what you're talking about in the conversations that you're having with your audience.
So on that note, do you think that the process being laid out and online is just totally unnecessary, and I should just make that for people who are already enrolled?
So, I mean, for you don't need to talk about step 1, we do this, step 2, we do that, step 3, this is the thing that happens. For most people, that's overwhelming. They just want to know that you're taking them to the top of the mountain and that you're going to get there in the quickest, most effective and fun way possible. They just want you to be the tour guide. And so if your goal is, if your business is story weaving, then think about what is the top of the mountain that you're leading people to. If they can tell a better story, how does that impact their life? How does that impact their reputation? How does that impact who they become in the world? And if you can weave that in, nobody's going to ask you, please show me your step-by-step formula of how we're going to get to the top of the mountain. I need to see the map. People don't, they honestly won't care about the map. They just want to know that you're getting them to the top of the mountain.
I think a better use of your website real estate would be samples of your stories. So case studies, actually showing how you have helped, what components you actually help define for people. So I know it's hard sometimes with story, but I've done this with a couple of clients who are copywriters, and there's a way to do it to where you can really pull out the gems of what you helped clarify or create for somebody, and then maybe visually, create some visuals for it. But yeah, people will not make a decision. Your website is really to get people to engage and to reach out to you, right? To be interested in working with you. So if they try to read too much information, it's overwhelming. They won't make a decision. So yeah, all that stuff could be in a PDF or a presentation that you walk people through once they're already interested in working with you.
Got it.
Maybe. All right, should we?
Let's carry on.
I hope that was helpful.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody.
You're welcome, Joshua.
I'm excited to see how it progresses for you in, say, the next 3 months. Make it about conversations and relationships, and there's going to be a lot that comes through.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, everybody, was that helpful for other people as well? There's some good stuff in there. Okay, let's go to the next one. Jennifer, who's not on the call right now, but she had some great questions that I think will be super relevant. So question number 1, how important is it to invest in a team for the growth of your business? How do you identify your needs as a business owner? And what are some of the roles contract workers fill on your team? So this is a great question. I mean, I think so many people question, should I have a team? Do I need to grow a team? Can I afford to grow a team? And I would say, hell yeah, everybody needs a team. I mean, if we're honest with ourselves and we truly want to do great work, everybody needs a team. Everybody needs to do the things that the chunk of work that absolutely drains your soul, because there's somebody out there who does those things and it lights their souls up. And imagine if you got the people to do that stuff and you did the stuff that lights your soul up. Imagine what would happen to everything that you're doing. And there's just certain tasks, if we gave a dollar value of, say, your time's worth $100 an hour, and certain tasks you're doing are, they're just tedious, and you're paying yourself $100 an hour to do stuff that you have no business doing, because there's people who will happily do it for $20 an hour. And we just have to we have to put on an entrepreneur hat sometime. And I mean, this is a new game for me in the last 5 or 6 years out of my 17-year career of really thinking in this way of, there's just things I have no business doing anymore that, it takes me 5 minutes of delegation. It takes somebody else an hour to 2 hours and $20 to $30 to go do these tasks. And so I would say, as the entrepreneur and the creator, make a list of it's all about knowing ourselves. So what are our strengths? What do we love doing? What are the things that we know we have to do in order to get us to our next level, whatever our next level is? And then what are the things that drain our energy, take up the most time, and that you think somebody else would be able to do so much better? And obviously there's a reality situation. And the reality is that sometimes we don't have money to pay people, but some people have an entrepreneurial spirit, and they just don't have any good ideas right now to work on. And what I've done to get to where we're at with Magic Media is I enroll people as business partners. So you could find somebody that can work 20 hours a week, and they could invest in your project. And maybe they have a part-time job on the side, but they can put in 15 or 20 hours into your business. And you could do a revenue share with them and figure out what is a fair split. And that obviously takes an exploration. You have to figure out, how much money am I making right now? If I paid 20% of that money to this person, how much would I have? And could I afford to do that right now? And if you have money and your business is making more money, it's a thing of releasing control, of putting our trust in somebody else to do an exceptional job. And I always let people know at the beginning of the relationship that we're doing a 3-month experiment, and we're going to be honest. Every month, we're going to have a check-in on what's going great, what could be improved, and how we're feeling about the relationship and the partnership, so that there's just open, honest, kind, and caring communication that we want to figure out if this is the best fit for you, your life, and your goals, and me and my life. And I've had plenty of relationships that they just like, actually, this wasn't fit. Let's just like, we tried it. It didn't work. I got to find somebody that is a better fit, that's going to be more passionate for the long term. And I mean, I'm going through that right now with my operations person. She stayed for 6 months. She's moving on. And that was a choice that she made. I thought she was great, but it wasn't a fit for her lifestyle. And so I'm like, okay, cool. That's fine. Somebody better is going to fill that position. So should you get a team? Yes. You have to figure out what are the most important roles that are going to move you forward. Chances are the most important roles are either like your image. So if your image isn't looking professional online, then that might be an area that you want to find somebody that can uplift your image so that it resonates in a new and upbeat way. If, you know, tech is a piece, finding somebody that can do all the technical work for you so that you're not spending days and days stressed and frustrated and resenting the job that you're doing because you're doing something that is just not your strength. And I mean, I, for one, I am not a technical person. I've had technical people supporting me for years because that's just not my wheelhouse. And that's okay. I don't have to learn it. There's plenty of tech geeks out there that just love that. I could go on, but Claudia, do you want to share anything as well? Because I know you're growing a team right now.
Oof, this is a huge topic. This has been like a big part of my own karma in this lifetime of being able to go from someone who was able to do a lot of things and did all the things for a long time to then trusting, finding, empowering, and really creating the infrastructure for somebody to actually come in and help me has been years in the making. And I've learned a lot of things the hard way. But I'm at the point where there's absolutely no way to grow. At a certain point, you are just an army of one. And as everybody knows, when you first start out, you have to do all the things. But eventually what you find is to really optimize your time, you have to get the most juice out of your hour in every day, in order to grow your business, scale your business. So it doesn't make sense if you're wanting to bill, $200, $300, hopefully $1,000 an hour, let's say, and you're doing $15 an hour bookkeeping work, just doesn't make sense. So that's the part where you have to really look at, how am I spending my day? What is sucking my life force out of me that I hate doing and I don't want to do anymore? And make a list and start with one thing. And that was the thing that I should have done a long time ago, is not like I tried to find my unicorn person that did all these things that I needed done, instead of just one person to do this one thing that I hate doing, or that I don't have any business doing because it's only, so bookkeeping was my easy one. That was $150 an hour to have this lovely group of people who I don't know how they do it for that cheap, but they do. And that's 1 hour of my billable time on the agency side, and I was like, okay, that's great. That's done. And I don't even have to, and they think about things that, because they live in that world, they think about things I could never possibly remember, or would probably stress myself out to remember. But I do think that it's about finding the things you really don't love doing, that aren't filling your cup, that aren't making you excited about doing your task list for the day. And also the things that just don't make sense on paper. If it doesn't bring in the revenue for your business, then let it go. And, obviously marketing is one piece that people, they feel intimidated because they think they have to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars, but really, I would find, somebody who does the part that you don't really excel at. So if it's the graphic design part, you give them a whole list of content, you give them all the things. It's actually not that much to find somebody to whip that into some templates, and, you pay them a couple $100 every so often to do that. So anyway, that's just a couple of notes that are front of mind. But the question was, Do you need a team? Yes, absolutely. You cannot grow and scale your business without it. You can burn yourself out trying, but I've done that for you. And how do you identify your needs as a business owner? Again, how do you just make that list? What is it that you hate doing? What is it that doesn't make sense on paper with money to do? And then what are some of the roles contract workers fill? So for me, I have an online business manager that I've just hired. So she does pretty much all the tasks and projects, kind of like wrangles all the things and tries to keep me on in some sort of focused manner. She's also doing a lot of the now like client management systems. So invoicing, scheduling, just making sure that all those systems are up to date. We're creating process documents. So we know every single thing in our business, sort of what happens where, and there's checklists that are being created for those types of things, especially when you're launching courses and things like that, that creating templates and creating standard operating procedures are really helpful down the line.
And it can be easy. You just, as you're creating stuff, you have an operations document already open and you just put it in, and it doesn't get built in a day. It gets built over a year. As you're doing things, you're creating the standard operation, and that makes it so much easier to hire people, because as you're doing tasks, you're creating a space where it's like, hey, you want to learn to do that? Here's the document. That's how you do it. That's how I've been doing it. So just want to add that.
Yeah, I think website updates is another one. You know, if you're not a web designer and developer, find somebody who knows WordPress or knows Squarespace or whatever it is, and you can hand them a list every month of the things that need to happen instead of you spending hours trying to figure out how to do the thing. So as a web designer developer, just find somebody who you can hand that stuff off to. But yeah, those are some of the easy ones.
I love the piece that you said about you were searching for a unicorn. But what everybody really wants is like just somebody that's specialized in the one or two things. And they might only work for you 3 or 6 hours a month. You know, like if they're doing technical work, it's not like you're going to be paying them 20 hours a week. You know, the chances are that's not what it's going to be. And so understanding that you're looking for specialized people. Like I have at least 18 contractors I'm working with right now because of Magic Kids. But most of those people, you know, they're not working 40 hours a week or anything like that. Like some of them are working 5 hours a week, some are 10, some are 3. And so it really varies depending on the job. But I couldn't be doing what I'm doing without any of them. So, yeah.
Oh, another quick way to figure it out is, what are the tools you're using? What are the ones that are like really frustrating for you, whether that's Shopify or, you know, all these other things that we have in our business. Each of you have unique sets of, you know, systems that you're working with. So find somebody who like rocks at that. Cause that was, you know, for me, it was WooCommerce back in the day. I was, you know, a web designer that had to use it, but I found somebody who just specialized in that. And all the tasks that were that, you know, under that umbrella would go to that person. He would crank it out in 2 hours, save me 20, and it was lovely. So, yeah.
Let's go to part 2. Oh yeah, go for it, Neil.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to say, it reminds me of the quote, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. You know, my experience is just with tech work and things I didn't know about in my web design business, like coding and stuff. And I went to Upwork and hired people, you know, a la carte on them almost, you know. And that's what I would suggest too. When you're hiring, you don't have to worry about, I'm going to be working with this person for the rest of my business. You know, like hire for one project, one little part of a project, see how they do. You know, it might blow up in your face and you might be, okay, that wasn't the right person. And you get someone else. And eventually you find someone you trust, and then you can kind of build a relationship with them. So that's just another idea.
And as you said, like, and if you hire somebody and it doesn't work out, it doesn't mean hiring somebody is the wrong thing. It just means that wasn't the right fit for the person, which is why, as Neil said, like a short-term project to see how they work, how they communicate. I mean, communication is the most important piece.
That's huge.
Like if they can communicate and they're able to learn and do their work, then that's great. Communication is so important. So you can learn a lot about people based on how they do their proposals and how they respond to your emails. Do they have a personality that makes you feel good when you read their emails? If they don't, then that's something to pay attention to. These next two are, the answer is going to be super short. So How important is it to invest money into marketing and ads? I don't spend money on ads. It's just, I haven't done it for Magic Media for years. There's a link right there that I just posted on creating awesome partnerships. That's the 4 ways you can grow your business. That's a workshop that I taught. I highly recommend, if you're looking for partnerships, to go through that workshop. But basically, you don't need to do paid marketing. As I said 20 minutes ago, marketing is having conversations. So if you're early days, have as many conversations about the thing you're passionate about. Go into Facebook groups, engage with people, have conversations, write content, send 3 emails a week to your email list, host Zoom conversations just like this with the people on your email list. Hey, everybody, we're getting together for 60 minutes to have a conversation about this topic. It doesn't have to be planned. It can be authentic and spontaneous. You don't have to, as many conversations as you're able to have about your topic. That's how you're going to get known. And you don't have to do paid ads. And I actually don't recommend it unless you are specialized and you've learned about it, or you have a whole bunch of money to lose. I mean, I've lost tens of thousands of dollars on ads over the years, and I've sworn them off. It's just like, unless you have somebody that's willing to do it. And some of our clients, I mean, when they do a launch, they're spending over $200,000 on ads to have a successful campaign. That's because they have over $200,000 that they can lose before making money. And so if you only have, like, I got $1,000 to spend on ads, think of something more creative that you could do with that money. Host a luncheon in your hometown for people. Like, find ways that you can have more conversations and save that $1,000 for something better, like hiring somebody. So it's all about relationships. Business is and always has been about relationships. And social media has made us forget that, because everybody's looking for followers. We don't need followers. What we need is engaged, connected people that resonate with us and what we're doing, and we resonate with them and how they're living. So that's all we're looking for. And how do we arrive to those places? We have conversations. Conversations lead us to resonance. Resonance leads to contacts and clients and all the things. So just find more ways to create resonance with the people you're communicating with. And an ads person would completely disagree with what I say. They'd be like, you're crazy to not spend $200,000 on ads, because that'll turn into $1 million. And yeah, if you have $200,000 to lose, by all means, go lose it.
This leads into the third part of this question, though. For me, I had this conversation the other day, and it was like, when's the last time you clicked on a sponsored ad in your feed? If you do use social media. For me, it's never. Like, I literally just scroll past them. That's me. And again, I don't know. Maybe it does work for some people. Maybe some people are really, like, paying attention to those. I don't. And the other piece of this, though, is I think for me, my clients have never found me on social media. They have an ongoing conversation with me, but it's not the place where people find me. And I think that's the part that we need to focus on, is like, yeah, like Bradley said, how do you want to spend $1,000, $2,000, if you even have that kind of budget, right? And I think we play with money when it's digital. Like, it feels like play money. Oh, and some social media person tells you need to spend this much. You don't think about it, but yeah, you could host a luncheon. So just, how do you want to grow your business is the point of that.
Speaking of luncheons, my buddy, who was he was the chairman of Global Earth Day back in the 80s and 90s, when it grew from like 0 to 400 million people before the internet. He went on to do green investing afterwards. And when he grew how he grew his investment business is he spent like a bit of money getting a designer to make these beautiful handwritten envelopes or handwritten letters. And he got the contacts of the wealthiest people in Victoria, and he invited them to a luncheon that he paid for. And they got these like beautiful sealed envelopes that, like, they looked high quality. And he invited them to a lunch at a fancy hotel. He paid for everything. And then as a part of it, he built his network, and he he essentially did his pitch over the luncheon, and that set him up for a 30-year career. That one lunch set his 30-year career up. And so there's ways that we can go about business. I would say the old-fashioned way is oftentimes the better way, because it's where real connection takes place in the real world. As often as we can do that is better. I mean, this is real world. You're all here. We're all connecting in a way, but whatever you can do to create those types of contacts and connections. So the last question, short answer: can you grow a business without social media? The answer is 100%. And if you go to the link I just posted, the first Creators Club launch event we did was on business without social media. I have another video on YouTube that's also business without social media, and a whole bunch of other videos that are around marketing. So you can check those out. You don't need social media. Nobody needs social media except for Mark Zuckerberg. All right. Those are great questions, Jennifer. Those led to some awesome conversations. Neil, do you want to read the next question?
Yeah, absolutely. So the next question is from David Duty, who's on the call here. On URLs, David says, I sell trading courses. My URL for 20 plus years was commonsensecommodities.com. And I thought it might be better to use my name as the URL, davidduty.com. And I'm using my name now as the URL. My thinking was, by using my name, it would not limit me to only commodities. When I started 20 plus years ago, I had the #1 rated course to learn and trade, and did quite well, 100K a year. Now I can't even get people to come sign up for a newsletter, much less buy anything. I was once a big fish in a small pond. Now I'm a minnow in the whole ocean. What would you suggest I use for my URL? I'm sure this happens a lot. What I think happened here is you had 20 years of clout with Google, like this 20-year relationship where they said, oh, I know Common Sense Commodities. They've been around forever. They have all these great links going to them. They know all these other people that vouch for them. They, the name is something that people search for. So when people search for that sort of thing, I'm going to send it to them because we know that they're a trusted site. And then you turned it on its head and you turned it into your name, which made sense because then you can start to offer different services and not just that. But in Google's eyes, now you're a different person completely. It doesn't recognize you. You showed up to the party with the disguise on, you're going by a different name, and it's like, who's this? And you're like, no, it's still me. But so I think that's what happens as far as the SEO part of your problem went. But also I think it's like another thing is the book by its cover thing. They see the cover of the book and it says your name. They don't know what's inside. They don't understand that it's about commodities at all. So you have to re-teach people your story and how to see you and what it is you offer, I think. So it's going to be a little bit of a haul to redo your SEO and educate people. Maybe something like we had mentioned for Joshua, some sort of offering, something to kind of get them started. And then you can kind of educate them through email, create that relationship, be there, be present in their life, and start to say, hey, I do this, you can trust me, and then go directly to them. And at the same time, build up your trust back with Google over time and stuff. And maybe Claudia could talk a bit more about that, how to get back on Google's good graces.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, this is an ongoing conversation. So SEO is a big topic, but I'll just, without boring you guys with some, I think a lot of you are dealing with SEO in some way or shape or form, or will be. So I'll just give you the quick rundown. So when you switch an URL, essentially David had this amazing Google juice that had been built up on the web around commonsensecommodities.com. So now you're basically saying, nope, whoop, I'm davidduty.com, but this is still the same content, right? So there's some technical things that you need to do to just tell Google, hey, this is the same stuff. Basically, this is the same relevant content when people search for these things. So if David, I think you're on Wix, correct, for your website?
That's correct.
Okay, have you set up Google Search Console? Have you worked with that yet?
A little bit.
Okay, so inside of Google has all these tools, and most of them you'll find if you go to just Google Search Console is the big one. So what that will allow you to do is sort of create like a re-index of your site around your pages and your content. And you need to kind of tell Google, hey, this is the new outline of my pages, and you're connecting the dots from your old domain to this domain. The other thing, if you haven't set up what's called 301 redirects, I don't know if you've done that yet.
Yes, I have.
Okay, great. So that's going to start to, again, redirect all the links from your old stuff that's showing up online over to the new one. And then Google will start to make the connection that this is the new site. Inside of Google Search Console, you can also create a site map. Have you done that and submitted that to Google?
I think so.
Okay, so anyway, I'll send you some resources, David, with Matt or that Bradley can send out. And I'll just mention on your website end, I would, if I had one thing to tell people is if you want to optimize for SEO, WordPress is probably one of the strongest platforms for SEO juice. Wix is an older kind of template structure. So the way that they code their sites is just not optimal for Google. And so if you're just focusing on SEO, I would even just take exactly what you have on this Wix site and have somebody migrate it over to a newer template inside of a WordPress site, if that's a possibility.
I did have a WordPress site. I was paying somebody, $1,000 or $2,000 a month to do minor changes.
Oh, that's not right.
So I can't learn WordPress. I tried.
I see.
WordPress is not in my vocabulary anymore.
Got it. So I'm sorry you had the traumatic experience, but that doesn't sound like what you would need to spend if you were to find the right person. So anyway, but I understand the hesitance, especially if you had that kind of experience. So this is just some thoughts, and there's a lot of different ways and a lot of different people out there to help you with some of those things. But anyway, there's a bigger conversation inside of Creators Club. We're probably going to geek out on SEO a little bit and go into more specific stuff. So I won't bore everybody with the technical stuff on this call, but yeah, I think it is going to take time to just really make sure that, and just tracking it. So if you're already set up on Google Analytics and everything, and you're just going to see, what happens over time. Yeah.
All right. So if you don't mind, I'd like to be clear. Would you go back to the old domain that's been around for 20 years, or would you say my new name?
I would not, from a practical standpoint, I think there's nothing. I'll send you a link to this article. You can walk through all those steps, David. And I think it might have a dip for a few months, but I think over the next few months, if you start doing these things, you should be back to where you were. What the thing that Google cares about is relevant, recent new content that is being submitted to the site that is relevant. So there's a bunch of things that ding your SEO score. One of the main things is that people don't update any content on their site. So if Google is seeing that your site is outdated or hasn't had any new content on it recently, it's going to start to go down in the ranks because they assume you're just not current, right? You're not an active business. So the number one thing I would say is start feeding your current page, your current website with some relevant content with the keywords that you want to start ranking for.
Okay. I had one question. My mind went blank. On courses, if you have a paid course, like on Wix, do you know if Google will SEO that or not?
If you have a course on Wix, so anything that's at a URL, Google will rank in some way. So the way that you get it to, rank it more is it's a combination of things, right? So the name of the course, does it show up on your homepage? Are you driving traffic to that website in a variety of different ways? Are there other pages on the web that reference that page? Do people stick around when they go? I mean, there's so many factors that go into SEO, as we know. But yes, anything that has a URL, Google will rank.
Okay, thank you. I've done Google searches on sentences out of my courses, with the quotes around it. They don't find it. It's not there. Bing doesn't find it. Google doesn't find it.
Interesting. I would recommend having a conversation with somebody, obviously it's hard. I've heard horror stories about SEO consultants, so I get the hesitance, but at some point you do kind of need to consult with people who can really do a proper audit of your site if you're having issues like that, because there's a lot of different factors at play.
And I would say, just to add on to everything around the SEO, I mean, that's definitely not my wheelhouse, but I would look at what was your traffic like when you were making 100K, and what's your traffic like now? I mean, are people still coming to your website? And if you're still getting a decent amount of traffic, then I would look at just the overall branding and design. To me, the website it looks old, like the style of the website. And so there might be, an opportunity to do some brand refreshing. If you weren't at the branding workshop last week, there might be some inspiration you can find from Claudia's workshop. We want to make sure that how we appear on the web does look modern, so that people feel like that the content is going to be modern. If we have a website that looks outdated, that looks 15 or 20 years old, or whatever it might be, people might think that the content is also outdated. So that's just something to be aware of, that, people's first glance and first impression, they are going to be looking at, how's the style? Can I trust this person? Okay, it looks like their design is great. That means they might be a more trustworthy person on the internet. So looking at the traffic, if the traffic has been low, then it could be a traffic piece. You're just not getting enough people. And if the traffic is still coming in, then you might need to just refresh your branding, your messaging, and create a more cohesive funnel for people to come into your world. But regardless of those things, just as an idea drop, you've had this great success with your courses. Perhaps there's other platforms who have grown through the rankings and are big leaders in your industry. You could consider licensing your courses to them, and they're already growing they're already growing an audience. And instead of worrying about growing your audience on your platform, you take what's already working, what you've already sold, because it clearly shows on your website that you have a track record, that you've done amazing stuff, and that you've been a leader in your field for a long time. And so if you switched your focus from building your thing and you just did a Google search and you spent 2 hours finding all of the people, companies, organizations, apps, whatever it might be, that are selling courses, programs, educational content in the areas that you specialize in, and you approach them and say, hey, I'm David. This is what I've been doing the last 20 years. I'm looking for partners to license my content with. I have this course, and this course, and this is how many people have done them, and this is how much money I've made. Would you be interested in having a conversation? And starting with that, because there might be other people out there be like, we would love to license your course, and we'll pay you $20,000 down and 20% of all sales, or we'll license your content and we'll split the revenue 50-50. And then you can just go about your business and create the courses and the content and worry less about building the audience. You don't have to do both. And you can still, be branded as David, and you still have your courses in this body of work, and figure out ways to leverage what you've already done. I think that's, for most creators, they've created hundreds of things and they're not leveraging all the things we've done. And what I've done with Magic Media and what we help our partnerships do is, like, how do you leverage the life's work you've already done in the time that we're in right now? And perhaps there's some leverage points that you haven't really looked at because you're going about your business in the way that you have the last 20 years. And maybe it's just for time to rethink your business model. Maybe it's you switch to a membership model and you do more coaching and more one-on-one courses, or maybe it is licensing. I think it would be great to, just go for a long walk, bring a journal, and think through some ideas that are outside the wheelhouse of what you've been trying to do that is not working right now.
Okay, thank you. Everything's not working. I think I've had 4 people in the last 2 months sign up for a newsletter. 4.
Well, then it's your opportunity to rethink. And I would say, just from personal experience, licensing is a life-changing avenue for leveraging what you've already created. You have these assets. If these assets still have value and they still hold true to the work that you do, then there are companies and organizations and educators out there that are, their whole lives are devoted to creating and curating the content, like the stuff that you've done. And they might be seeking partnerships like the one you have. And if you do 2 hours of research with Google, you might find those partners. You can create a cover letter, share some samples, and reach out and see what's there and just test the waters. I mean, I make passive income every single month from meditations I created 8 years ago. And that's, you know, it's generated hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I have not spent an ounce of energy trying to build an audience for over 8 years. So it's just something to understand, is there's more ways than the old school way of you build a list and you sell to your list.
All right, thank you very much. You've been extremely helpful and I appreciate it greatly.
Please let us know what you decide to do after you process and digest some of the pieces that we've offered feedback on here.
I'm gonna go sit on a rock by the lake for a few hours.
That sounds wonderful. Take a notebook and a hot drink.
Thank you.
That's great. All right. There's some helpful pieces in there for everybody else as well. That's the wonderful thing about the Magic Mind, is one person asks a question that's relevant to everybody. All right. What's our next question? Claudia, you want to read this one?
Sure. This is from Naraya. Naraya Stein. Am I pronouncing your name correctly?
Almost. Naraya rhymes with Mariah.
Naraya. Got it.
Mhm.
I was pronouncing it Spanish style. So yeah, well, I love your website. So Naraya wrote that she's creating a sales page for her upcoming launch of a Mighty Network community. She's in the late stage startup. It's called journeymapping.net/community. I'll put the link. If Bradley, if you could put the link in there. I'm in late stage startup. So at this time, looking for input that would tighten up my offering, message, packaging, branding, as well as input on price. I'm writing you late in the game, as you're likely to already have a long list of questions. Oh, got it.
Oh my gosh, logistics.
Got it. So I love your page. So do you want us to share screen, Bradley, and talk through it?
Yeah, let's do it. Do you want to share your screen?
And I think you got the link I gave you, that community page. I question if that should just be my homepage, because I have a homepage there, but this is really the sales page because it evolved into a community.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and even taking off the top, this just gives a little bit of,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and the top banner might not be relevant.
Well, the question always is, what is it that you're offering? Like when people go to a website, you want people to feel like they've arrived and, you know, take them through the different offerings that you have. So if it's more than a community, so you're offering coaching, correct?
Correct, but I'm really highlighting community. Coaching is more high end. That's going to help support me.
Okay.
But the membership community, it just evolved. I'm like a creative, probably a lot of you, is where basically I was creating a course, and in the course of researching my software and my platform, I knew I ended up on Mighty Networks, and it just, everything kind of pulled together. So community is my main offering, and that's where I wonder if that should be the homepage.
I don't think necessarily, but I think that what you could do is have two really easy calls to action right here. Join the community.
Okay, awesome.
And you know, whatever the first thing is that you want people to take action on should be like right there.
Okay.
And if it is community that you're offering, instead of making it a picture of you at the top, it could be some, you know, that person seeing themselves in that website. So what is that person? What is it that you're offering them through? So I'll show you on the other page, because I think that's the one that I actually looked at.
That is the one I gave to you guys, because that's like my sales page, and I want your input there, especially.
Right. So I don't know, because this is a Mighty Networks template, and
No, it's not. This is a WordPress website, because I did that first.
Okay, great. So I don't love this bar. I don't know if there's a way to like remove that or if the template requires that, but if
No,
it's
not, this is not a template. You mean the colors at the top?
the actual bar right here, that kind of like this section that has
Oh,
the white backdrop.
Yeah, no, I did everything. I am totally guilty like you of being talented and capable. And I did all the design. I've learned all the tech.
Well, first I want to say that it's amazing and you've done an amazing job. That's the first piece. And I was really impressed. Your photography is beautiful. The content is incredible. And all I'm doing now is, you said you wanted to refine. So I'm going to give you a couple tips real quick to refine it.
Tell
So
me
the
if I
first,
can change anything.
yeah,
That's
so
amazing.
the first thing that I see is what happens when you have a block like that. It looks like it's blocking content.
Okay.
It looks like it's blocking the image. So I would just say, if you can remove it, great. Like, let's see that gorgeous tree and in all of its fullness. And I also think that instead of, so the tree is lovely. But again, if you are selling a community and you're selling this experience of feeling vibrant and healthy and connected, and I want to see that person represented first on the top of that page, because that's where you go, oh yes, okay, I belong here. And this is what I want. So that image of that beautiful woman or people that you're attracting into this community should be first. And then there should be a join now right up at the top. And maybe I like the heading, your holistic hub for midlife transitions and transformation. I think that's beautiful. And then as you scroll down again, I think the content is great. And if you wanted to spruce things up, I mean, maybe have so what do you want this to feel like when people go on this website, on this page? What do you want people to feel?
I want them to feel one, heard, is that their private thoughts about a struggle or transition are actually said, so that they can relate, they get there not alone, and that there is a place that's safe and it's holistic. It's gonna, and my people tend to be a little more in the world, you know, so they're definitely down to earth kind of people.
Great. So then bump this up, because this video is beautiful and it's you and you're welcoming them. So that needs to be like the first thing right below the header. I would bring in the welcome video. And then as far as like visually, what is it that you're kind of going for with the look and feel of the page? Like,
okay, so again, there's a combination here in people in working clothes, professional clothes. What I wanted was a professional feel, so that people who are working, even corporate or that kind of thing, most of people are valued, so they work for nonprofits or something like that, but they're in different settings, that they feel comfortable in that. At the same time, I clearly have an artistic hippie, whatever flair to me, and I'm wanting to let that out. So that people also get, oh, I feel safe here, you know, because I find everybody's got that eccentric side underneath, and they're really longing to be more themselves at this stage of life. They're kind of over it. Yeah.
So again, those are things that in the imagery, you know, I feel like this feels very contained and very professional. It feels very polished. However, if you want to let it out and you want people to have the freedom to let it out, maybe a little bit more of like I think this font could be something a little bit more interesting, so that only this one kind of gives a little bit of a pop and a little bit more design, you know, and even if it's just a serif font with a little bit more going on. And I think, again, back to the conversation we had earlier about your process. So I see that you've kind of really added a lot of content. I don't know that you need all of this. I think you want to like minimize this to just the essential pieces, and then have a little bit more visual interest when you're breaking down things like that are important. So for example, this right here is important. You know, that should have either icons or some sort of visual component, and maybe even pull that out from that section, because I want to really focus on the things that are important to me are, yes, I'm going through a professional transition. I'm going through a life purpose situation. You know, I'm struggling. So I want to just call out the things that are more important and really make them pop a little bit more. And same goes for the framework. So down here, you say monthly framework installments include. So I would make that a 4-column section where you really make those, because those are what they're paying for essentially, right? So those are the features, that's like what they're getting out of this program really. When they add up in their
that, I want to ask at the end,
Mhm.
because the top is a summary that I recently added. This is one, yes, this is core to keep going, top, top, top. That one.
There you go.
This
Okay.
is everything they're getting. So there's quite a bit, and that's why at the top based on feedback, but that's a biggie. And it's too much to digest when you first land. But at the same point, I'm wanting them to get, this is you're to all these, basically a community of support as well as the ingredients to find your way in midlife.
Yep. And I didn't see that. I apologize. But this, I think, like I said, this up at the top, and then some sort of invitation from you, some sort of like personal statement that's inviting them into the community. And because some people will watch the video, some people won't. So like summarize that video in like 3 to 5 sentences, no more, and have that right below the video where you're just inviting people from a personal place into this community. Then you can basically, and I agree, I don't think this needs to be right at the top. I think after that you have this, basically this vibrant collaborative community. Then you say we gather in community because, but I think the content's there. It's just really like kind of refreshing it a little bit and reorganizing it so that some of the more important pieces, and you're walking people through a journey. So you're basically saying, yeah, it's an invitation into this. So invite them in first, then break it down as far as like what it is. I don't know if that was helpful, but all the other components are there. I don't think you need to you've done a lot of work and it looks really great. And the people that are going to join this are ready to go. So just,
Cool. And great. And did you click into the journey mapping page like that? Just for visuals? Don't get into content, but look at that's where I kind of started. Just scroll just for visuals. And maybe I should move some of this over, but this is where it starts to say more of content in a visual way.
Yeah, I think it's great. The visuals are great. Give a little bit more space, and also like when image sections kind of stack on each other, it's kind of hard. So I like to have, an image and then some white space and then an image and then some other content. So it just kind of staggers. And I think other than that, though, they're great.
Okay, good.
Yeah. And I mean, one thing just from a design standpoint, it's cohesion is important, right? So if you have a bunch of your own photos and some stock photos and things like that, it can be tricky to kind of get everything to look cohesive and like it's part of the brand. So if you find, what I look at, I usually create a palette where I have all my images and I'll create a filter that just kind of goes over it. Maybe it's really subtle. And I don't know if you have if it makes sense for you to do that, but you can do it in Canva really easily, where you just kind of create a really opaque, low opacity kind of filter. And you can just use like a light black color. All it does is it kind of makes it to where everything's consistent. So you just put that on top of each of your images and then it looks intentional. Like it's all part of one package. That makes sense. And I can do a little bit more of a training on that in the Creators Club. But yeah, this is all, but it looks great. And I think the images are great.
And I would just, looking at the kind of the model for your community and what's being offered in there without any respect to design or website or anything, it's just like questioning the business model. For example, $20 a month, I don't know how much time you're expecting to have in there. $20 a month, you need a lot of members to make it a worthwhile investment of your time and energy.
Amen. And I put that for founding members just so that I could get so you see that I put it up to $39.99, but you're right.
I-
So wanted input on this for sure.
I suggest when you're doing pre-sales, we have a 35-day pre-sale process, which we're actually in with the Creators Club right now, where we do 5 events over the course of 5 weeks, so roughly 35 days. During the course of that launch period, you offer some form of special. So a lot of the communities that we've supported to launch in their launch period, Creators Club's a little different because this one's an application only, and there's a lot of coaching involved in the 12-month commitment. But a lot of the communities that we support the launch of, if you're say charging $39 a month as your regular price, then you offer either like a lifetime special for what's 39 times 12. So just say $500 lifetime access to the community. So what you want to do with the launch of your community is to make some money to support you to build your community. And if you're selling like $20 a month, it's really hard to really get it going energetically for yourself. And so I would suggest, and if you don't want to do lifetime access, then you do like 2 years for the price of 1 to join the community. And you offer some extra bonuses and perks to get people enrolled. And we have a whole launch process that we did a course on with templates and everything like that. But I would suggest rethinking what you're doing here with your price, because 19 a month you're gonna need a lot of people to join as a
What
founding
about
member.
at 39 or 40, basically?
I mean, even 40 a month, it's totally fine. I would suggest just for your launch period that you don't offer a monthly access. You pre-sell, say you pre-sell spots for 6 weeks to become a founding member, and you create a bunch of content and events during that time period of say 5-6 weeks. And during that period, you offer it as $500 for a year, or $500 for 2 years, regular $40 a month, save X number of dollars. And what that's going to do is, if you get your 50 people, if you get 50 people paying you $500 to be a founding member, you're going to make $25,000. That's a nice chunk of money for you to grow a team, to improve some of the design, to make some media, to like serve your community. And those founding members, I mean, I still have people that joined our membership 7 years ago as a founding member at our founding member price of like $300, and they're still engaged. So, those founding members essentially create the culture in your kombucha, if you know what I'm saying. They're the ones that are going to help spread the gospel of the work that you're doing and be the welcoming committee when new members join down the road. And then once you're done your pre-sale launch and all your founding members are in the door, then you change it and say, okay, everybody, if you didn't want to be a founding member, we now have monthly access and you can join for just $39.99, and away you go. But I would suggest doing pre-sales. It's always worth it.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, Michelle, I see you have a question.
Thank you. God. So when we get, I'm sorry, let me just recollect. I have Lyme, and I'm getting like a little like nummy in my head sometimes. So we were talking about the pre-sale and what people get. I'm sorry, Naraya, what was the very last thing that you said?
Before I'm not quite sure. Basically, I had this as just a monthly thing, because I see what Bradley's saying, but I'm not sure. Was it not related to price and membership?
No, it is. I'll if I think of it, I'll come back. I'm sorry.
Okay, that's okay. We got time.
I think one thing that you've mentioned, Bradley, which I agree, is like once you get them at $19.99, it's really hard to then have them expand into any other price point. Like that's the value that they have in their mind about your program, instead of selling the value, which is a year's worth of community and resources and richness. And so they don't associate you with $19.99 a month is the goal, right? So, and I also think, again, back to, you're trying to get people to really like commit, because if it's a monthly thing, I can come in, I can come out. It's like, it's not that big of a thing, especially
Right.
$19.99, you know?
And we're going to go through the framework. I'm saying it's going to take 14 months. This is a spacious journey of life reflection and going through it. It's deep. It's just, you know, change is about showing up. It's not about consuming content. And so it's going to take time.
Great.
So,
That
yeah,
needs to be communicated in your messaging, which would make people justify why I want to join your community for the next 2 years and pay $500 up front to be a founding member of this journey that I'm embarking upon.
Okay, love it.
Yeah.
I remember what it was now, about making things like this accessible, because I would imagine, Naraya, that maybe part of the reason that you want to put it at $40 instead of at $75 a month or something is because, like for me, I'm going to be offering holistic wellness. I don't want to make it be like an elitist thing. I would like to have it be available to more people, because a lot of people, I'm sorry, we have jets here. A lot of people who need the kinds of services that I provide are people who don't really have a lot of money. And they're some of the people who can benefit the most from the programs, right? So like I'm trying to figure out, like with the Founders Club, yes, that they might be then able to help me seed the ability to have it more cost effective for lower income people who would really maybe need the services, who could not otherwise get them, or the programs, whatever, and then have people who actually can pay. So I'm like thinking about, how do we do like sliding scale, or how to make it equitable for everybody, or like how do we adjust that?
I mean, there's
pricing.
definitely, there's scholarships. People apply, make them jump through some hoops in order to get discounts. There's licensing on other platforms. There's applying for government grants so you can work for people that are less privileged. You can partner with organizations that is like, go to an organization that has funding to be able to invest in the types of programs you're doing. It doesn't just have to be a one-to-one customer exchange.
And that would be separate from the website membership thing.
It could be, or it could be a part of it. You know, there's so many different ways to do a business model that generates revenue and sells a product or a service. And so your customer might not be an individual, your customer might be an organization. And that organization could potentially have a private group inside of your Mighty network for all of their clients that are part of that organization. Like there's so many different ways to do this. And I've had corporate clients that like, they sell a space inside of their Mighty network for $30,000 and they provide coaching. You know, like you can create your business model in many different ways. It's what we're sold in online marketing is, it's mostly you're selling a product or a service to a customer, a client, or a company. But there's other ways to go about business that, you know, you could sell, you could license, you can partner, you can get sponsorship money. Like there's all these different things that you can do that still create a monetary exchange and value, and also allow for you to provide the service to the people you're really wanting to reach. And if they don't have money, then figuring out a way that you can still serve them and still be paid for the energy that you have if you're at a state in your career where you do need to make money doing the thing that you're doing.
Thank you for that.
Oftentimes, people that join a free community in something like Mighty Networks, we've done it. Magic Media switched our model to a freemium for a 6-month experiment where we offered everything for free, including coaching. And it was a terrible fail because people are not invested. They come, they're looky-loo, and they're an absolute pain in the ass. And so you don't want that. What you want is people that are invested in the transformational journey. And if you're honest and upfront and you tell them this is a 14-month process and this is why you're paying this, people are going to look at the $500 price tag and say, why the hell am I only paying $500 if it's 14 months and you're providing all these transformational benefits? I mean, if I'm getting my life changed, why am I only paying $500? This sounds like a scam. So I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying, like, there is a mental equation that people go through when they look at a program. And Zensho, I know you've charged, Zensho on the call here, I know you've charged like $50,000 for your transformational programs to clients. And people will, the right clients will pay that $50,000, but you could also go to a different person and only make $1,000. And so we have to really get behind the value that we're providing and understand who we're providing that to at this stage of our career. And if you have people that, let's just say, are lower income that could benefit from your work, then find ways to benefit them with your work. Create a free audio series, or create a $20 product or a $50 product. There are ways that you can go about it that you can still serve those people and not essentially, you know, and still also make money in other ways.
And
So,
it is absolutely true that people need to invest something, because if they don't invest some kind of monetary exchange, then they don't do the work, it seems.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Exchange is important. The law of reciprocity. All right, let's carry onwards and upwards. Okay, Gail's question. So there's multiple questions. We may not go through all these, Gail, but I have a physical space in town that is ready and waiting for business. But in the past, I've had a business and each of them has taken over my life in less than favorable ways. How do I define my offering and availability when I feel like my life is in constant flux? So it's a great question. I mean, how many people feel like your life is in a constant flux? I think it goes with the territory of being on a little ball flying through outer space. There's no guarantees, there's no certainties. Life is always in flux. We're evolving beings, and we're living in a time in our history where things are crazy, especially if you pay attention to media. It's crazy right now. So I think it's like, you know, there's some pieces. My one suggestion is, like, we need to own our schedule. So I've had a saying that anybody that's been following my work for a long time is schedule your success. So create a 30-day calendar and, like, take a step way back and reestablish rhythms, reestablish routines, and set yourself up for success. So that might mean that you do more crock pot cooking that require less time in the kitchen and more time doing the other things that you enjoy. That lifestyle success might be like making your lunch the night before. It could be like these simple things of, like, what are the rhythms and routines that are going to set you up to be your best, and establish those, commit 100% to those, so that as you start to incorporate more of your business and opening a space, that those take priority over the business. That, you know, shit's always going to happen with our business. We're always going to have fires that have to be put out, but we have to make ourselves number one. We have to, like, our energy and our mental and emotional bandwidth have to be number one in what we're doing in our life. And so if you schedule your success and you really, like, own it, that you are your boss. That's why we become entrepreneurs, is you're the boss. I mean, I have a buddy who has a store here on Salt Spring Island. They only open 4 hours, 4 days a week. If you want to buy stuff from them, you go during those hours. Otherwise, you're not buying anything from them. And they're doing just fine. You know, like, we don't have to do 8 or 9 hours a day. We don't have to do things a certain way. And I highly suggest, this has been my arc for 17 years, is I want to build my life and create a business around my ideal lifestyle. That's why I play golf every single day. It's why I only work 6 hours a day. It's like, I have done this with 100% intention. And it's like, it's so important to me because I want to live my life. I don't want to be in my business all day, every day. It's why I've built a team. I could probably have more money in the bank account if I had less people on my team, but I'd be working 10 hours a day. I don't want to do that. It's not worth it. So for you, it's like getting really crystal clear about your rhythms, your lifestyle. What are your habits? What are your morning rituals? What are your afternoon rituals, your pick-me-ups that are going to keep your energy strong and mighty through the afternoon? And what are your evening rituals? Getting clear on those things so that you're empowered to own your schedule and say no and say yes to the things that you want and don't want. Anything else anybody want to add there?
I want to just say this is another karma piece for me. So this has been a lifelong, but this year, my mantra has been that both healthy Claudia and successful Claudia can exist in the same reality and in the same life. And that's because those core beliefs were kind of aching into my reality, which is like, I have to burn myself out to get to where I want to go. I have to work hard to get to where I want to go, like all that. And so when I read your question, it was really, to me, I read a core belief that like, if I do business, I have to sacrifice my health and well-being. And that's not the case. So I would say also, the first thing I thought of is, we're a byproduct of all the people that we hang out with. So align yourself with people who are doing life and business the way that you want to do it, that are, living their life, prioritizing health and well-being and personal life. Like for me, I don't take on clients who expect me to work weekends anymore because I won't. And so there's personal boundaries that you have to set first and foremost, like design how it is that you're going to live your life before you start, and then where your business is going to fit into that. And then everything, the people you collaborate with, the clients you take on, the type of work that you do has to fit those priorities, or else it's really easy. In fact, every single thing that you encounter and every person you encounter in the world is going to have their own priorities. And so it's really easy for you to start, like for me, I'm a really malleable person. Like if I let other people dictate my life, I would constantly be in a sense of, like you were saying, feeling like you're in flux and not sure what you're doing. So anchor in what it is you want your life and your day and your routine to look like, and then design a business around that. And then hang out with other people who have those same priorities.
So can you repeat your mantra again, please?
I think it was something like successful Claudia and healthy Claudia can exist, and healthy, vibrant, juicy, all the things Claudia can exist in the same reality.
Thank you.
Welcome. You're welcome. Yeah, I've done a lot of deep work around that. So keep it, but it's a day-to-day practice.
I always look to Stephen King as a role model. And not that I'm a huge fan, I do like his work, and you might have your opinions on him, but we can all agree that he's prolific and a successful writer at his, bare of his craft. But he sits down at 9 o'clock, he writes till 5 o'clock, and that's it. Doesn't matter what he's doing. He just clocks in and clocks out. He could work all night if he wanted to, but he set his boundaries. I remember reading that once and I was like, that's the way to do it, So when I'm done after, I stop at 4, that's family time. I don't think about what's happening the next day. Maybe I'll write a list at the end of the day. What am I going to work on tomorrow? And then that lets me kind of say, okay, I'm done. And then I clock in the next day and go, all right, now what am I going to do? That's the only way you can do it. Otherwise, you're going to drive yourself insane. You're going to, like Claudia said, burn the candle at both ends or whatever, like burn yourself out. And it's a real problem with entrepreneurship,
No, I love that. Thank you. My husband and I have rental properties right now that we're trying to get rid of. And that's exactly the reason. It's like, I swear to God, when we're on vacation in the Caribbean, we'll get a call from, since like, are you kidding? We haven't heard from you in how many months? And now you want, it's like, really? Yeah. So we're trying to get rid of that for that reason, so we can manage our lives better.
Yeah. Can't take your life back.
Our current reality in COVID and the pandemic has really shifted a lot. So I think everybody's in that realization of if you didn't realize that, you know, we are energetic beings before this whole thing happened, like and so anyway, I feel like people are really making decisions about, okay, what is the energetic expense of this thing not being fully clean or fully clear in my life? And does this need to go? Does that need to go? So I think that's an important thing for business owners for sure, because it will require focus for you to create whatever it is you're doing. And so anything that's pulling at that needs to be worth it.
Yeah, that's exactly why we're getting rid of them, because I realized I can't, well, in theory, it should be simple to collect rent, manage minor repairs and stuff like that. Not a big deal. It still disrupts my focus from what my passion is. And so at that point I realized, no, this simply has to go because it's not where it kept like smacking me sideways, you know, with my focus. And I'm like, no, this is not working.
Alternatively, if it's still a worthwhile investment, you hire a property manager that deals with everything. I mean, you know, the operations person that I hired and will be hiring now because she's not a fit is, you know, they were doing all my invoicing, all my contracts, all of the outreach, all of the paying of clients. You know, that's adds up to 15 hours a month sort of thing. It's a lot of hours per month that I don't need to do them. And so if you can hire a property manager and pay them a chunk of what you're making and it still feels like a worthwhile investment, then you could go that route too.
Okay.
And I see another question about branding, Gail. For the sake of time, Bradley, do you want to just have a couple more questions, and then if we have time to answer that, we can?
Yeah, let's go to Diane's question next. I think, do you want to read that one?
Sure. So Diane is a professional artist, and as my journey has evolved, I have added wellness modalities such as sound meditation and instinctive meditation to my offerings. I feel that I can combine my modalities and in some cases include my art. So I created my business, Art of Wellbeing. I've also dedicated an art website, dianecardello.com. Do you want me to share my screen, Bradley?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. Here we go. Sorry, sharing. All right, Diane, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Hi. So tell us about your work.
Well, first and foremost, I am an artist. I paint intuitively, and I incorporate healing into my artwork. And people pretty much resonate with my artwork, I think as a result of the energy that I incorporate with it.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where I began. And then I started to add, you know, as I said, the different modalities to my work. And I just feel inside, you know, I have all these ideas of just different scenarios that I could do. I get frustrated because I can't bring them to fruition. So I just really hit a wall. I love working with people. I love sharing what I do. But I'm so technically challenged, and my puppy is, I've been praying that he would stay asleep. So I apologize. So I have all the challenges, and it just, like I said, it makes me hit a wall.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I want to say your art is absolutely gorgeous.
Thank you.
And yeah, I mean, I want it. So
it's for sale.
I know, I checked it out. So I would say, first of all, you're an artist, you're a true artist. And you said the first word you said was feeling, that people get a feeling from your art. And that's what you're conveying through the medium of, you know, this mixed media work that you do. So I would say, to translate that to the web, you need to work with a fellow artist. And I wouldn't say this to every single person. If you were just selling an online course or whatever, you don't necessarily need that. But I will say that to translate what you do on you know, a canvas to the web, you do need to work with someone who can translate your vision to that. So hiring a web designer, once you get clear on, you don't have to spend a ton of money. You can source some really beautiful artists actually who can just implement your vision. So I would say to what we can help you with, or what, you know, the strategy process will save you a lot of time, money, and energy, is to get really clear about what it is you're offering over here. Because once you're clear about that, I mean, I think the thing that's missing on here is your art. I would say if you're using your art as the medium to translate the healing work that you do, let's start with that. Let's bring them into that experience and that feeling through having your art be first and, you know, front and center. And then
my photograph, I did that also.
That's beautiful. So make that like, don't contain it, make it like an immersive experience. And also then, you know, it's really important. I think right now you're kind of just listing what it is that you do, kind of this a la carte menu. But I think that, under services. So that's another thing that, you know, if you wanted, you could put this under about, just so people can get, how do I work with you? It needs to be front and center. And instead, and do you have like a center at, how do you work? Like, what's your space?
Well, it's actually back in my home. I had a place pre-COVID and had to shut it down. So I'm really working at building it back up, because when I move out into the world to try to incorporate all this, I want a big space. You know, I want to be able to have, you know, like big retreats where you can do like art and the meditation together. I love to teach, so I want to be able to teach art classes. But, you know, part of what drew me to this, you know, to you guys is, you know, I live in a little town who, you know, they never heard of sound meditation. So, you know, I just feel like I have all these mountains to climb, and, you know, educating people as to what it is, hauling my gong and all my bowls out to do sessions with people so they can get a taste of what it is. So I think I need to step back and, like you said, figure out what is it that I want to put out there and be able to reach the masses in a way that, seriously, I have a 30-inch gong that, you know, I'm lugging to go to venues.
And I want to say two things on that. One is, you don't, like, we all need to hear this, but this is just to trust that we are being guided to offer ourselves in these ways. This isn't something that's just you and your ego trying to do. So this is a service, and people are going to find you. I trust that. So you just need to get really aligned to what is the offering that's really authentic to you, that feels really like what you're here to do and how you want to serve. And then allow it to be really effortless. When people get there, it's just like a big yes, you know. And I will actually send a couple links through Bradley too about other people. If you go to Instagram right now, this is like all the rage. People are finding sound meditations and sound vibration, sound healing. It's like really epic how people are translating it to virtually. So they're doing sound bath experiences through Zoom, which is like, you know, incredible, and obviously not like the real deal, but it's something. And so people need healing. And what we're gonna, you know, hopefully we can help you with is just to really package it and to deliver it in a way that can be both virtual and in person, first of all, as an option. And when they get here, that maybe there's something even where instead of this a la carte menu, people don't really know what they need. So take them through an experience, you know, package something that is for maybe first time, you know, newbies to sound bath, or by a topic or issue that they're facing. You know, if it's a calming and relaxing, grounding experience, then you sell that. And what does that include? Versus, you know, again, like ordering off a list at a restaurant, which people don't really know. And if you're guiding them through that, then I would create your website in a way to where you're kind of walking them through those experiences.
Yeah, and I had a bad experience. The person that created this, I feel so disconnected from it. And I paid good money for it. And it's like, so now I just feel like I need to start over.
Well, you're never going to start from scratch. So you learned a lot from that. You have a structure, you have something that came, some clarity that came through. And I will tell people all the time, it's an evolution. If I were to show you my first website, woof, and, but that's how we grow and that's how we get more clear. So don't think that it's all for nothing. You have something there. Now you get to really, you have the contrast and the wisdom now, I think, and the experience of saying, okay, that doesn't work for me. Here's how it will work better. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Awesome.
I
Thank
hope
you.
that was helpful. Yeah. But your work is beautiful. The intention that what you're trying to create is beautiful, and it's going to come together.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I love the point that you made about the sound baths for newbies or something like that. Like just creating an accessible, non-woo-woo experiential way for skeptics to come. Or it could even be sound healing for skeptics, and like creating open door space. When I taught 500 meditation workshops between 2009 and 2012, how I did that, I had my own meditation space, and the door was open 3 to 4 days a week for 2.5 years. And when you add that up, that's a lot of people that came through my door. That's a lot of experience. My reputation grew. That evolved into the online meditation stuff, and that's blossomed into so many other things. And I think like rhythms are really, really important as a creator. It builds trust. It helps the word spread. Somebody comes, they have an experience. If the next sound bath for skeptics isn't for another month, that's a long time. People forget about it. There's a lot of information going into people's brains. We need to, like, if we're here to do the work that we're here to do, we need to be doing the work more often. If this is our dharma, if your dharma is doing sound baths, you should be doing a sound bath like, once or twice a week. And what I found with my meditations, there was once out of the 500 workshops where I was the only one that showed up. That happened once out of 500. Every other time, the exact perfect people showed up, always. And you just need to have regular rhythms that people know. It's like Tuesday nights, sound healing for skeptics. It's like, great. Okay. Because what's going to happen is people are like, oh, I heard about those. I plan to make it. And they might hear about it for 3 months, and then they'll finally come out and they'll have a life-changing experience and become a client, and this becomes their path. But if we're erratic with our schedules, then we're not creating a foundation where people can trust that we're going to be there when they need us or when they're ready. So just want to share that.
That's true.
Makes me think of the gong. We hit it, and if you wait too long, again, the vibration dies down. Then you have to start over. But if you hit it, and then it's halfway gone, you hit it again, it just resonates, and it keeps exponentially building this vibration like that.
That's my dog playing the bowl.
Oh, you got a duo.
I do.
Okay.
Thank
great.
you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Next question, Michelle.
Oh, cool. Thanks. I was just going to ask, because I also do sound healing, and you mentioned doing sound healing over Zoom, but so far, I'm imagining it's just a matter of plugging in the proper type of microphone, because so far, when I've tried to do sound healings over Zoom, it's awful, because most of the resonance of varying instruments doesn't carry over. But when I've done sound healing with people on their phones, it seems to be okay. I don't know.
That's a more technical question.
Yeah.
But sure, Neil can answer that. And I think, all of this, right? We're like translating these live experiences as much as we can, or as best as we can. So it's not ideal to do it over Zoom, but I do know what I would recommend is following some people. If you can find people on Instagram is like a great place. If you just, hashtag sound bath or sound therapy, you'll find a bunch of people and see how they're doing it, and just see, what format works and what doesn't, because people are experimenting right now. Nobody has the right answers, but you need
uploading a pre-recorded thing works.
Exactly. Yeah.
But if
I
you
think-
want a live experience, look for people that are doing it and message them. Say, hey, your experience was epic. What software did you use? And then they'll might get back to you and be like, oh, this is what I'm using. And be like, that just saved me 10 months of experimenting and having crappy results. And then at least you know what you need to get in order to create an equal experience. One of my good friends has been doing a lot of live streaming that you can check out. His name is Parangi. So Parangi is an amazing artist, and he'll loop like 30 different instruments for his live stream sessions, and the quality is world class. Another amazing musician who does a lot of live streaming is Elijah Ray, another friend of mine, and he, again, like, he's been live streaming for years. He's got it down. Go check out Elijah Ray and Parangi's live streams on YouTube and Instagram. And I mean, these guys, they've been doing it for a long time. So
Awesome.
check out what they're doing. It is possible to get perfect, crisp sound and experience with what you're doing because others are doing it. And the so some of your questions, the one question, Claudia, I think you have an answer for, do you know of any socially environmentally conscious web hosts?
Yeah, so yeah, I'm unmuted. Okay, my tried and true is a company called SiteGround. So there are a lot of other ones. I love SiteGround, and I find that it's not just environmentally conscious that you need to look at. It's like the whole package, right? So of all the and I'll just put, this is an affiliate link, so just full transparency. But if you guys want to check it out, SiteGround is a great option for the speed, the quality, the support. So the thing that I think a lot of the other cheaper ones don't tell you is, yeah, it's cheap, but it'll take you 24 hours to get a hold of anyone. Or you're
actually, oh, sorry for interrupting, but they were actually on the top of because I did a lot of research on this like last year, and they were on the top of my list.
Yeah,
so
I've used them. I'll write something about this, but I had 10 years of a nightmare experience with different hosts and host companies being bought out and things like that. And then I got my whole hosting environment kind of hijacked by one of the companies. So that experience forced me to really do a lot of homework and go look for like the people who are going to be partners for me in my business. And because I never wanted to have that experience again. And SiteGround has been that for almost 5 years now. And they're amazing and tried and true. And they're on the Google ecosystem now. They've moved all their servers over to Google servers. So Google is doing some sort of one-for-one like energy exchange program. So it's, of all the options right now, I would say like SiteGround and the Google platform is probably the best to work with. Because yeah, we're in interesting times. Yeah, but was there another question, Bradley?
Yeah, Neil, do you want to ask do the one about Anchor or about podcasting?
Yeah, sure. So Michelle, you had asked what platforms do you recommend for presenting podcasts? And I think all three of us agree that Anchor is probably the best right at the moment. They're pretty much free. You just upload your things. They make it super simple for you to create a podcast and share it out with the world, which is great.
I think I just heard something that with them also that you can do they partner like with Spotify or something? So like you can have music in the background and stuff. Is it them?
Yeah, you can mix a show on Anchor. I think Spotify bought Anchor.
Okay.
And you can also, when you upload a podcast to Anchor, once you have your accounts all set up properly, it automatically feeds it to all the other podcasting platforms. So in one upload, your podcast goes out everywhere.
Awesome.
You can also do that through SoundCloud's RSS feed system, which we do for the Making Magic podcast that I've been doing for years. But it's a much more complex setup process to get SoundCloud synced to Spotify and iTunes. And so if you just want the least headache-free way to get your podcast off the ground immediately, I would recommend you do Anchor.
Okay, and then what about VPNs?
What's
Like-
the VPN?
Like the private, so like, let's say for instance, I have clients that their information is private, like HIPAA. I mean, some of the work I do needs to be HIPAA compliant. And so like the VPN is like a private, I guess it doesn't show your IPO or something? Or not, it's not IPO.
IP address?
Pardon, yeah, that.
I'm not sure about that. We have to look more into that, but
I think it depends on your particular situation, like where you're going to be storing documents, and with people's information is usually what needs to be HIPAA compliant. So I'm not sure what it is that you're referring
So
to.
like, for instance, like, let's say I have an intake form
Mhm.
on the website and people fill that in and they're putting, you know, their date of birth and their medical history sometimes, right? Like certain things about their medical history. So it needs to stay private and it's coming over the internet. And so,
So
I
there's
think
a-
it's called a VPN.
There's a bunch of ways to address this, so I'll just keep it simple, but you can use a form tool. Acuity scheduling, for example, is something I use with clients who are therapists who need this to be HIPAA compliant. Their system and their forms and their whole ecosystem is HIPAA compliant. So you can use that. If it's just an intake form and you also want to benefit from the scheduling, that's a good resource. But again, you can Google a bunch of different alternatives for that, but that's a good one that I know and trust.
Yeah, I did a bunch of that research also last year. Okay, cool. Thank you.
You're welcome. I think Andrea had one, and then Zensho also added one in. Do we have a few minutes to take those?
I am more than happy to go overtime to get to the last two. And for anybody that does have to go, check out the application form for the Creators Club in the next 9 days or less. If you want more of this type of focus coaching, it also comes with one-on-one coaching. And there's a lot of resources and templates and things that are going to make your life easier and better inside the club. And
especially around podcasting, which Michelle also asked about, because I think that's a hot topic. So we're putting together like a gear list that is going to be sort of the equipment and the best options for getting your own podcast going, how to actually set it up, what are the marketing considerations, how to make sure that the technical pieces are set up, how to market it, etc. So that's a big topic that we'll address there as well.
all right, so next question, Andrea. So she's looking for feedback on her website. She also asked a question about licensing your content to apps, companies, and institutions. So who are those companies? It depends on what industry you're in. So I would suggest, let's just say you do hypnotherapy or you do guided meditations. Just look up top 25 apps for yoga, top 25 apps for meditation, top 25 apps for music, whatever it might be, depending on your industry. Look for those apps, write a strong cover letter for when you reach out. After you write a strong cover letter, have like 1 or 2 samples of your work that are top shelf, include those in your cover letter, and include like your 3 proudest accomplishments in the work that you do in the world. And submit that to those 25 apps. And if you can get a handful of them to start paying you for your work, that's how you get licensing. And the more apps that approve you, the more credibility that goes up and the more doors you can open. I've got another new app that we're just in negotiations with right now. Like that's how it happens, is you start with one, you put the cover letter together, the samples of your work, your credibility, and you just reach out cold. And they have people on their team that are looking for talent that they can put on the apps. That's their business model. So yeah, just fill in your industry, fill in the blanks, look for the apps, and you'll find a whole bunch. There's so many. So let's do the website review. Claudia, do you want to share your screen and go through that again? You've done such a good job of that so far.
Thanks, Bradley. All right. All right, so this is Yarmany Mountain Meditation, and Andrea's not on the call anymore, I don't believe. So I'll just quickly go through few things that I noticed. So first thing, as we've already discussed, sometimes as business owners, we overlook some of the very basic things. So there's no way for me on this website, it looks really beautiful and I love her image, I think it's great. There's no way for me to hire her for anything. Or pay her any of my money. So I want to first and foremost make it not just a contact form, because people, if they have to think, they won't take action. So even a contact, people think, oh, just contact me. Well, let me just sign up for a thing, even if that's a free consultation, or come to my event here. I have a weekly, again, that rhythm that Bradley was talking about, create a weekly event that you can offer, even if it's virtual or in person or whatever. But there has to be a way for people, once they come here, to take an action and engage with you, or you've potentially lost that momentum. And the next piece is, again, we're sharing immediately about me, I, instead of you. How can I serve you and where you're coming from? So we want to first address, why would people come here? So I like come learn the fun art of meditation. Great. Then the visuals need to represent that somehow too. So if you're essentially saying fun art, etc., that needs to be the energy of the imagery and everything else that you share. But what she also says in here is come explore. So I love that. Meditation is an adventure. I believe benefits can change your life. I can coach you. So again, but then you'll be able to practice on your own. So that is the thing. So for people who are coming here, if she's offering that as a, brand offer, brand promise, then that needs to be up at the top, come learn come learn the basics of meditation so you can practice on your own, or so you can explore the benefits on your own, whatever that is. But that's how you tie it into what is the thing that people are going to want from you, and offer that right at the top. And then how can people do that? Should be
as simple as learn to practice meditation on your own, and everything on the page is pointing people in that direction. The copy is all around that topic.
That's right. So yeah. So good foundation, and with those kind of pieces in place, I think, then you've got engagement, right? As soon as people get here.
I would also say having a free audio meditation that people can hear your voice, feel your energy, and experience your guidance would be a massive selling feature on there, so that they can put on some headphones and listen for 10 minutes, have an experience, be like, okay, I want to go deeper here.
I also want to mention that I love all those points and about engaging and everything, but a way to take a site like this and also like your business site, Diane, to the next level and really make it engaging in a quick way is to just invest in a logo, something that ties it all together. A logo is like a nice rug. It ties the whole room together. If you have Yarmany Mountain Meditation with even a mountain behind it, it might make it pop in something people can get behind, like a mascot for a sports team. You're like, I get that. I love this brand, with your, Diane, with your art site, it kind of works with just the font, because it's almost like a blank gallery in a way, where a gallery gets out of the way. So it's just the art is able to stand out, and that's the focal point. But for your business or this one, you can incorporate a mountain, or you can incorporate one of your bowls into your logo with the different, the palette that you have going on with the greens and the browns. I think it could be really cool. So it's just a thought.
And logos you don't have to spend hundreds of dollars or thousands of dollars on a logo. You can go get icons from stock sites and find the one that really works with the branding, and that can be your logo until you're ready to get one custom made.
Yep, and that can go on your business cards, it can go on shirts, you can go on, your letterheads, everything. So then now everything has this sort of through line going about it.
Do we want to address Sensho real quick? And then
that'd be great.
Michelle, okay.
Yeah, let's do that. Because I have another call in 9 minutes that I'll have to.
Okay, Sensho, let me pull up your site. Actually, Sensho Trauma Freedom Formula, right?
Yes, and he has a question here, and Zensho, maybe you want to tell us which. Do you want us to focus on the website, or do you want us to focus on the question you posted in the chat?
Oops.
Oh, you're muted. There you go.
Okay, thank you. Maybe start on the website, because I'm at a new phase of my life in a business. I'm going to update this this week if I can.
So it looks like it's not 100% complete. So from what I'll share now, I guess, is the top and the bottom look like two different websites. So obviously color cohesiveness would be a thing, but also from a content perspective, I'm wondering if you need it to be a multi-page site or if it can just be a one-page website, since most of the content is pretty short and sweet on the other pages, and it actually feels more like a sales page type of offer that you would have. So that's just one question, and also maybe suggestion.
Sure. I was invited by a number of naturopathic physicians to give a lecture at an international conference for naturopathic doctors. And I didn't have a website at the time. So I put something, this is what I put together for them. And that was before I knew anything about landing pages and opt-in. And so, there's some great content here, but, I just want to get this cleaned up so that, but my main thing is going to be putting together an opt-in page where I don't have all this other stuff, just to start building an email list, because I don't have an email list yet. I just didn't know about all this marketing stuff. And by the way, recently the website was hacked and a bunch of photos have disappeared. And so it's a mess right now, but some of the basics are there.
Yeah, so I do think you could very much put this onto a one-page sales page for whatever it is you are offering. I think the main thing is figuring out, you mentioned something about your audience not being 100% clear. So really clarifying who it is that's coming to this and what it is that why would they want to opt in to your offering. But then, so it's 2 pages basically, or maybe 3, because you want the main sales page where they come, then you want the opt-in page that you lead them to, perhaps. If it might just all happen on one page actually nowadays, it's more streamlined. And then the thank you kind of welcome page where they download the thing or they get whatever the follow-up message is. And that's pretty much it. So who is your main audience that you were thinking about for this?
Well, again, I've only had referrals.
Okay.
So these days, just in the last week or so, I've been thinking, like, who the hell would be a great audience? And it occurred to me, perhaps, health and wellness practitioners who are already engaged in healing, and even some people who are trauma experts have never heard of this technique. And the people that have gone through it all tell me it's the fastest, most efficient thing that they've ever found for trauma. And it's the only thing that also, not only is your trauma dissolved, but the end point is you end up, with a direct, undeniable experience of your true being, your actual essence. So it's got some multi-dimensional benefits. So that's why it occurred to me, maybe people who are already practitioners and may want to get trained in this modality and some of the other ones that I have.
And sometimes you don't even need to exclude people. You can just say that you just want to funnel them to the information that's relevant to them. So maybe you have a for professionals and for individuals type of language where, people who are either working with trauma and doing it professionally, whether they're and want this information from a professional standpoint, or people who are looking to heal their own trauma, individuals, and like, what would that look like for them to get that information? So again, it's like more like we're creating we're letting people know, because when they come to a website, they have no idea. So you're needing to let them know, why is this relevant to them? And then how can they use this information and how can they engage with it? So that's, I think, the 2 maybe main buckets, I would say, if that's relevant to what you're doing, and then creating a different user experience for each of those people.
Okay.
I definitely feel like a long-term doing a teacher training of this, training practitioners would be amazing. And so figuring out what that program would look like, how long it would be, what the charge would be, because I know, like, you know, you have worked with high-end clients doing this work. And so, I mean, for a practitioner that's used to getting paid $100 an hour or something like that, having this tool belt where they could get paid, you know, 5 times that
Mhm.
if they were to get certified with you, like that to me is it's an amazing opportunity for them. And I think it would be ideal, and it would help fit into their toolbox of things that they're already doing. So I think you're definitely on the right track, and you should do some visioning around what that would look like and how long the training would be and all those questions.
Yeah, I got the training already broken down in my mind, two levels. And, you know, the first one is a really intensive on the whole foundation. And the second one will be a more advanced one for all this more specific stuff that gets people even more fantastic results.
Amazing. I'm excited to see it come together. But I think as far as I think Bradley, was there another question in here?
I like the pink on the website. I think the pink's a good color. I like it.
Right.
I love that you like it, and I don't dislike it. But the first thing I think is Planned Parenthood. So this is just to say that color, when it's owned by a certain brand, especially when those brands are bigger, you kind of need to just honor that. I actually don't mind it, but I do think you want to mix it up. So pink it's a lot of pink. And so if you are going to use it, maybe have it be an accent and not like the only thing up at the top.
Okay, well, that's interesting because trauma, having kids is traumatic, but I hear your point.
No, I think the content, I mean, I think once you get really clear, again, like and just put it all on one page, I think it'll be much more juicy that way, to just kind of flow through what it is you're offering.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Thank you very much,
You're
both,
welcome.
all of you. Great.
You're welcome.
Well, this is great. We got through it.
Woohoo!
You guys did fantastic. Thank you very much.
This is fun. This is
Yeah.
really fun.
That's the power of the magic mind. Way to go, everybody. These were some awesome questions. It was fun to go through them. It felt like there was a lot of questions that were relevant to the group, which is always nice. Well, this was our final event for the Creators Club launch celebration. So thanks, everybody. It's been wonderful to get to know all of you that have been coming out regularly. That's been super cool. We hope to see you inside the club. If you have questions, reach out. And when you fill out the application, you get the opportunity to set up a call with us as well to go through questions and concerns, considerations, all the things to make sure it's a good fit. We really only want people that this is the right time and the right fit for what you need and what you're trying to do. And I imagine we'll probably do like a monthly public event for non-members, just as a way to keep the fire stoked and alive, so that people know that when we do open the doors again, that there will be a space. Yeah, this has been really fun. It's been great. It's been really nice getting into a weekly rhythm of teaching again. So that's been great.
Absolutely. So grateful for all of you and your contributions. The questions were really had us thinking really and deep and diving in and really reflecting on our own journey. So it's been such a win-win, really. And thank you. Thank you for showing up.
Yeah. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Rock and roll. See you all again soon.
See you soon.
Take care.